Hi, I'm Josh Bowman, Product Manager for QxControl, and in this video, we're going to cover places and setting scope. These two conditions are very important in how we both configure and manage QxControl, so we're going to spend a little time covering that. So we are on the places page now, and what we're looking at is an example of an entire hierarchy all the way up to the QxControl level. These are not real customers. There's no real customer data that I have access to, but this lets you understand what a top level engineer would be able to see all the way down the hierarchy if securely logged in. Now, what we have here is our integrator level is where the integrator's visibility will start. So we're going to use the actions button to set scope. And if I am an integrator, this is what I will see. I will see at first my hierarchy will start with the truck icon with my integrator name, and then you will see the customer sites below it. Customer level is denoted by this briefcase icon. Red, of course, means that these are sample sites that are offline. This means it is connected, but there is no gateway. If you look at our example here, wherever we have a gateway connected, that icon will be green. So now that we see what is available at the integrator level, we can see that this is how an integrator is able to get in and to service and deal with any issues without having to go on site. But what we want to do is we want to focus in our scope, which is selecting where in this hierarchy we are focused in order to manage things properly. So next, let's look at what a customer would see if they have admin level access for all of their sites and areas. The top of their hierarchy would start at their customer level. At the customer level, as you can see, none of the other integrator customers are available to them. And if I am a top level admin for this customer, I can see all of my areas and sites. As you might imagine, when you set other people up as users, you will set their scope to control what they have access to. So let's look at the different types of places that we have here. At the customer level, if we click on that, we can see here a lot of information about this customer. We can see a listing of all the permissions, gateways, and devices such as cameras, doors that they have installed. We can search through there, and this is to help the customer as well as the integrator get a very quick look at everything that is involved. Also, anytime you see the actions button in places, this allows you to set your scope only to that place, focusing only on the resources available at that scope. If we edit this place at the customer level, we have the ability to choose the parent place, which by default should be the integrator that manages their account. Next is the name of the customer, which we can edit later. And also we have the customer type selected and time zone. And just a quick note, time zone with QxControl is very important. Because we can access QxControl from anywhere in the world, it is important to focus that the gateway is in line with the time zone of the customer place, and we want to make sure that all of the devices use the same time zone. We also have the ability to include an account number. This is optional, and this is simply to help you keep track of your customers. One thing that we do require is that you input the billing period. If there's none, that may mean that they have only a one-time fee. If they have any subscriptions, we want to select when they prefer to be billed, when the end customer prefers that billing. Once you've engaged that selection, that will show the anniversary date and the billing start date the next time that they would be invoiced. Also, of course, we can enter all the address information for this customer. Now, if we look here, we can see this customer has multiple sites. We have the headquarters facility, which is in this example where our gateway is, and all the sites and areas within that facility. You can see here we also have other facilities created as an example, and you can see that they have all of their sites and areas as well. Again, this helps us control where the resources are available and who has access to them. So you can see here we've taken a very organized approach to setting up this customer. That made it very easy to add the additional sites. If we would like to add an additional area, to choose Create Place. Creating place will automatically start with where we have highlighted. If we incorrectly chose, we can actually click and choose a different parent place for that area. And we provided a name. We give it a type, and then create. You'll get feedback that that was successfully created. And what we now want to do is refresh the browser. And you can see now that there is a subplace video example for side entrance. We can also use these arrows down and up, allows us to minimize or expand all of the sub areas beneath, such as headquarters facility. We can consolidate and only see the individual sites. So this is very easy and intuitive to navigate, and very easy and intuitive to add and build places. Now let's just cover real briefly before we go the importance of scope. So it is very common, especially at the integrator level or an administrator for the customer who has control over many sites. Oftentimes it is easier to set your scope only to the area that you wish to manage. That concept seems simple. However, we have to remember that this is what we have done. So if we change our scope, say to East Wing Technical Offices, and we only want to look at people and resources that are in that office, you can see that the cameras and doors that we had in this view are above this scope. So they are not available currently, and we would have to change and add items that are available within that scope, for example. So here's what can happen. So if I made this change so that I could go in and add people, and I just wanted to look and see what people are at that scope as well, if I leave and I come back later, if I don't remember to check my scope, I may think that these cameras, for example, are no longer installed, which is not the case. So a good best practice is anytime you see resources that are missing, check your scope and make sure that your scope is set correctly so that those resources will reappear. The other thing to remember is as you create these resources, whether they be people or devices, you want to make sure that you set the scope correctly for where they have access. So as you can see, Mr. Adams here is a vendor and he is a consultant. So we do not want to give him access to areas outside of the visitor area. In doing so, we have chosen that as his scope. So putting thought into how we structure places will help give us an idea or a path to structuring where people have access as well as where resources are accessible. So again, all a very simple concept, but it helps to get a big picture idea of how it all comes together. That concludes our lesson on places. Thank you.